You got to make sure your library has the standard gamut SDR settings. You can modify it and change it to wide gamut, but you got to make sure in this case for this tutorial that it's in its standard gamut SDR. Once you click on your event, you can import your media and the new project. The new project you have to make sure is in a standard Rec 709 again. Your media could be in another gamut. Right now it says that it's a Rec 2020. When you bring your media down to your storyline and make sure in your inspector that the column conform, it's on manual and is set to none. Now we can start. Find your recorded Ottocolor card and make a mark. You can go back and forth one space, make a position keyframe, then 2 frames forward, make another position keyframe on 100. Now go back 1 in the middle and just zoom in. I like to change my workspace. And now in the first one, waveform Luma. In the second one, we have waveform RGB overlay. The third one is the vector scope, and is making sure that you have showing skin indicator, so it will show this line. And in the chroma, the last one will be the waveform chroma. And we'll draw mask over the exposure settings. Just need to take everything. Better if it's kind of a thin line. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our curves. And the first one, we're going to name it exposure. And to find out what the exposure reading is here, we're just going to click the dropper, click on the darkest, 25, 50, and 100. But that 25, 50, and 100 is a proportional ratio. If this is 100, this is half of that 100, and this is half of that 50. And look that we are at 80 something here, 82. We want to get as high as possible without damaging the curve. And while holding the option key and push up. And look at we still have a curve. If we push forward, it becomes a line. Just pull it till it's still a curve. Now that it's a curve, we move all the way to like in the middle at the average of the Luma, and it's 94 or so. So 50% of 94, 47. So we go down to 47, and we know this is our 47 mark. And now we're going to push down to 47 average, and half of 47, 23 and change. So just 23 and a little bit. And this is our 23 and a little bit. And we're going to hold option and push it down to 23 and a little bit. And this is our 0 mark. And if we want to go with the curve, with a nice curve, we see where we need to be to continue that beautiful S-curve. We hold down the option key and bring it down. So it has a very nice wave on the whole curve. The white balance is way off. So we're going to do another color curve. And this one we're going to rename it as white balance. So let's go to the highest point. If you hover over RGB overlay and come back to this one, the marker will hover at the same height. So our target is to get all 3 colors at 94 or so. Let's start with the red one. Here we go with the extremes. So we don't worry about making a move here because it's the highest. We're going to go with the extreme. So either we move it on the edge down or on the edge horizontal, but leave it on the edge. So now we're moving it down on the edge, and we're going to leave it to the mark. Red is on the mark. And let's do the other side. Red needs to go down to somewhere around 2. So we're moving it on the edge. And now it's on top of 2. The next one is green. Let's do the same. And green and red interact with each other. So let's adjust both. More or less, it will give you that they're on top of each other compared to where they were before. Let's do the blue and an average of the blue. And now we have all three together. On the bottom, we're looking at the blue is a little bit off. Let's go back to the blue on the bottom curve and bring it on the edge. And now let's bring the middle one. And the middle one needs to be on 47. Green is kind of okay. Red needs to come down. So let's look at the exposure setting of the middle one. Where is it? And then the 25%. So right on this line, let's grab a point right here. That's in this one right here. So let's bring that down to match the green. And we see the blue is low on the same position. Let's raise the blue a little bit. The blue might be a little bit too low here. So it's below this one right on this position. We can raise it just a little bit. And the red, we can bring it down just a little bit. The white balance has been achieved. The next thing is to do a second mask. So we go to draw mask, double click it, and we're going to go and circle the colors. Also a thin line, thin is if possible. Red in RGB, of course, is red on the top, and pure red will be green and blue matching. Choose a hue saturation curve, and this one we're going to name it hue. We're going to find out where we are. So here you can see that the red is not good, yellow is very close, green is very close, cyan is off, blue is off, magenta is really close. When we click on the colors, this should fall on red either on this side or this side, but very close to the edge. But because it's off, it's going to be a little bit away from the edge. Yellow is very close, so it will be almost on the line, same as green. Cyan will be a little bit off this line, blue and magenta. So let's try that. Let's see what we get. If we click on red, it's a little bit off. We can delete the stragglers automatically created, so you only move one hue at a time. But since we're going to click on all of them, we want to delete the ones we don't need. See, yellow was pretty close. Green, very close. Delete the stragglers. Cyan is off. Blue, close, but not. Magenta, very close. So let's start with red. You select it, and with the arrow keys, you can go up or down. And now you can see here in this section in the red, our first color is matching the green and blue opposite. If I move the arrow up or down, it's going either way. So let's try to match the blue and green together. Now let's do yellow. Yellow is red and green together. So pay attention to this curve right here. While yellow is selected here, pay attention to the curve here. The arrows up and down, they don't match quite perfect. So with the option key down, just click and drag and they match. The next one is green. Let's do the same, up or down. And you're paying attention to the two other colors. Let's do cyan and go up and down. Let's do blue, arrow key up or down, and it's not matching perfectly. Hold the option key. And last one, magenta, and they're matching. And the last one that we cannot tell here is the skin tone. So let's select the skin tone, and it tells us a line here, and at the same time it created an extra dot here. We need to delete that dot, that selector, but just select the skin tone right here. Now we're going to move this little dot to match the skin line, up or down. Now it's over the skin line, and that's as close as we're going to get. But these colors need to make the saturation properly. Here the skin tone needs to be at 20. Everything else is touching 25. Now that we finish hue, add another hue saturation curves, and we're going to name this one saturation. And if we click on every single color, they should fall right on every single line, perfectly aligned with the line. Let's check it out. Perfect, 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 perfect. Every single dot is aligned with the grid. Let's remove that. Let's do one at a time. So we have the red. It's pretty close. Pretty much we all need to raise all of them to be an average, so we don't have to move that much here. We could, the entire thing in general, move it up. Now it's like an average. And now we can individually move red down. So we can go with the red down, click on the yellow, go up, click on the green, go up until it touches the 25. Cyan touches the 25. Blue, bring it down, touching 25. Magenta, raise to 25. In this case, skin tone is already pretty much on 20. If it wasn't, we can eyedrop it, select it, and that's our skin tone, and move it just up a little bit. That's it. It's touching the 20. So we have an even circle on the vector scope. Every single color is pointing where it needs to be pointing and is the same distance halfway to its destination. Let's see how we did. If we hide the mask, this is our color corrected image. And this is before, this is after.